Good evening. I want to welcome everyone and call our October the 2nd, 2023 meeting of County Council to order. I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight as we work our way through the agenda and do the business of the county. To start us off, I'm going to ask Councilman Lawless if he would please lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Dear Lord, we thank you for letting us be here tonight and the many blessings you've given us. Please be here with us as we do the business of the county. Please help us to make the right decisions that will be pleasing to you. You've been so good to us. We just thank you for being able to live here in Pickens County. In your name I pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on tonight's agenda is our public forum, and that is the time in which the public has the opportunity to give us feedback on issues that you deem important. The time limit is capped at 3 minutes per speaker with a total time of 30 minutes. So, Madam Clerk, if you would, please call our first speaker for public forum tonight.
Mr. Chairman and members of council, I call Amber Hart.
Hi, my name is Amber Hart, and I am a graduate student at Clemson University. I am a master's en route to PhD student in the College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Life Sciences. I received my associates in science as well as my bachelor's in biochemistry, and I work alongside animal veterinary science students studying genetics and pathogenic interactions. I also worked at Greenville County Animal Care for 4 years and have had experience with animals of all types. I am here today speaking on behalf of Joanne Powner and many others who have called in regard to animal welfare within the county. The reason I state my credentials so heavily is because with the ordinance in Pickens County regarding animal care, I don't understand how an associate's in criminal justice and police science from Tri-County and 6 years experience as an officer is enough to define what humane care and treatment is of an animal. I have given you guys a copy of Pickens versus Greenville County ordinances regarding animal care, and I want to specifically reference A and B in Greenville's ordinances where it properly, yet still minimally, explains animal care, unlike the single sentence of an ordinance Pickens provides. How are animal enforcement officers supposed to enforce any kind of animal care when they have no governing to back their efforts? Due to this lack of support, many animals have been found deceased after reports have been made to animal control countless times before their passing. Sufficient food, water, and proper shelter should not outweigh the voice of the public watching the animals wither away due to parasitic infestation that an officer cannot give any support to take action on since the laws were met per Pickens County ordinances. If the county provided better support for these animals, Joanne would not have had to witness 2 cows and a calf die while she begged officers to help, which they could not act on based on the sole ordinance of no owner shall fail to provide an animal with sufficient food, water, proper shelter, and protection from the weather, as well as humane care and treatment. This is animal neglect, which is a common type of animal cruelty where people do not provide adequate care for their animals in their charge. Pickens County should hold their officers and citizens to higher standards, as this is unacceptable and still continues to happen. Many more animals will die under these conditions, and change should be highly considered to the council, minimally paralleling Greenville on animal care alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samuel Burns.
I've been paying taxes here since 1977 on houses. And our new person over the tax office decides that he don't want y'all to sign, or the employees to sign, a statement, the receipt when I pay taxes. They charged me back taxes of $2,700, and this went on in like '97. What I would like to do is y'all give me one good reason why y'all can't sign that receipt every year. And I'm talking about all three of them, the auditor, the one that puts the millage rate on it, and April. April's probably one of the best people, and you sure God need her over it rather than Kenneth Roper. That's a crooked cop protector. And yes, I said it. Now, do any of y'all have a reason why I can't get them receipts signed? Two of them, one on each house.
So this isn't a time where we discuss back and
Well,
forth, but I
that's
will
why
take
I
note.
came in here to get it discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Amanda Cox. Amanda Cox. Reba Cruz.
Good evening, and thank you for serving our community. My name is Reba Cruz. I present a joint statement on behalf of the local group Community Advocates for Education, the League of Women Voters of Oconee and Pickens Counties, and the Pickens County branch of the NAACP. Our members support the library's mission to provide all county residents with access to information through the development of appropriate collections and services. These collections and services must cover the needs of all county residents. The library should be a place where all residents feel safe and welcome. Our citizens should be able to see themselves reflected in our library collection. Our members reinforce the idea that a democracy presupposes an informed citizenry. The First Amendment mandates the right of all persons to free expression and the corollary right to receive the constitutionally protected expression of others. Our members support intellectual freedom, the right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media. Censorship is purely an individual matter. While an individual or group is free to reject material, no library or their governing body shall restrict access to the rest of the community. Library services apply equally to all users, minors as well as adults. Responsibility for children rests solely with their parents or legal guardians. Libraries and their governing bodies cannot assume the role of parents or the function of parental authority in the private relationship between parent and child. Parents and guardians who do not want their children to have access to specific library services, materials, or facilities should so advise their own children. Our members respect the role of the library director. The board should be careful to respect the management function of the director. While the board establishes policy and approves major decisions, it does not assume the role of library manager. That job is delegated to the library director hired by the board. To ensure the best library services, the director must be allowed to manage the library without inappropriate board interference. Our members are committed to supporting the success of our library and the protection of intellectual freedom for all community members. As you deliberate applicants for the open library board seats, we ask you to select candidates that support these principles. Thank you for listening.
David Cox.
Good evening. My name is Randy Cox. I'm a longtime resident of Pickens County, and word is that a vocal minority of the local Republican Party is requesting this esteemed council to pack the court, or in this case, pack the library board, with members who are against freedom to read. The most alarming part of their designs is a plan to grant minute oversight to the library board, including everything down to which books to purchase and what activities to host. Don't give in to their anger that's espoused by these anti-freedom groups and radical fringe groups like Moms Against Liberty. I'm sure most of your constituents approve of the right to read books freely. I think many of you probably also share beliefs with that particular party, which claims to champion personal liberty, whether it's a person's right to choose to mask or to vaccinate, or even years ago, to wear a helmet on a motorcycle, that party claims to cherish personal freedom above government overreach. So why, pray tell, would they be asking you to use governmental power to restrict what books residents can read and access at their public library? Restricting access rarely works and usually ends with litigation against that party which is perpetrating the problem. Ask the Pickens County School Board members whether or not they can hide behind their elected position to avoid having their lives disrupted due to their frivolous misuse of power. So if you don't want to do things because they're right, which I hope you all do, at least do things to save your own dignity and reputation and even your time and money. Leave library administration to qualified people. That would be librarians.
Good evening. As the nation celebrates Freedom to Read Week this week, and as we recognize the importance of libraries and the free and open exchange of ideas, I ask you to consider very carefully the people that you appoint to the library board. As Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, the libraries of America are and must ever remain the home of free and inquiring minds. To them, our citizens of all ages and races, of all creeds and persuasions, must be able to turn with clear confidence that there they can freely seek the whole truth, unvarnished by fashion and uncompromised by expediency. Unvarnished by fashion. I am very grateful to those who serve on the commissions and boards of our community, as well as those elected officials such as yourselves who serve our communities. I recognize that many of our public servants are motivated by desires to make our communities better. I am concerned that some people may apply to the library board because they want to personally decide what reading material is and is not available to our community, and perhaps limit library acquisitions to materials that align with their personal beliefs. I fear some may apply because they want to censor or control events and programming at our local libraries. I support the libraries, librarians, library staff, and library collection development policies of our community. I feel the library staff in our community does an excellent job of choosing materials and resources to fit the varying needs and interests of all members of our community, and planning events that appeal to different segments of our community. I ask you to let them continue to do their jobs. I ask that you support candidates for the library board who are committed to the idea of intellectual freedom and recognize the important role of the library in serving the needs and interests of a diverse array of people. I believe individuals and families can and should be trusted to make their own decisions about what books to read and what programs to attend. No one ever has to read any book in any library, and no one has to attend any program at any library. Libraries should contain a diversity of materials to reflect the diversity of individuals in our community. Please recognize that there are many, many people who are satisfied with the programs and books available at our library and the outstanding jobs the library director and the library board have done overseeing and guiding the libraries to serve the needs of our community. Let libraries be a place where we can indeed read about politics, but library boards should remain committed to the idea of intellectual freedom and put those ideas above personal politics. Thank you for your continued support of our libraries and librarians.
Sheila Crawford.
Good evening, Council. The Pickens County branch of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and People who come in all colors, is opposed to any efforts to dilute funding and strip authority from the library director to comprise the function of the county library system. The chief librarian is a professional who has been trained and whose credentials meet the certification of the State Library Board. The county library system is supported by all the citizens of the county to provide free knowledge through books, social media, etc., and its programs. The county library system serves all county residents and should be a place where inclusion and intellectual freedom are valued to serve all citizens. For many of our citizens who have limited resources, purchasing books is a luxury. Therefore, the library provides sources of free knowledge which helps to improve our county citizens. Among our members and in our community, we rely upon the county libraries for information as a teaching and educational support resource. If you will think back, it hadn't been that long since African Americans could even utilize the county library system. For this reason, we hold the work of librarians and a library board committed to inclusiveness in high regard. As a county citizen, we want to see the library director retain the ability to set the course for the libraries. Attempts to usurp the authority of the library director negates training and professionalism. We trust the library director, whoever it is, because they are qualified and they are a professional, to do their job and continue to select content and programming that is useful to the broad spectrum of our community as a public space serving all county citizens. Thank you for your time and attention. Sheila Crawford, President, Pickens County Branch, NAACP.
Carlos Gabriel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, County Council. I stand before you as an AP scholar who earned academic honors from the College Board's National Recognition Program. But more importantly, despite the fact that I'm currently under the weather, I'm here to represent the youth of the Pickens County. I'm here today to advocate for the preservation of intellectual freedom, a cornerstone of our democratic society. The proposal to censor library books, particularly those available to the next generation, is a perilous step that threatens the very essence of our democratic values. Libraries serve as vital repositories of knowledge, fostering curiosity and critical thinking among the youth. Censorship undermines this fundamental purpose by restricting access to diverse perspectives and ideas. It is essential to recognize that the richness of our society lies in its diversity of thoughts, opinions, and voices. By censoring books, we risk stifling creativity and inhibiting the development of open-minded, well-rounded individuals. Furthermore, the responsibility of guiding us through literature lies with our parents and educators, not through the imposition of arbitrary restrictions. Censorship does not protect children. It denies us the opportunity to engage with challenging ideas and learn how to navigate a complex world. In a rapidly changing global landscape, it is imperative that we equip mine and future generations with the tools to think critically, question assumptions, and consider multiple perspectives. Libraries, as bastions of free thought, play a crucial role in nurturing these skills. Let us not compromise the future of our society by limiting the intellectual growth of our generation. I do not believe this is an issue of political parties. I believe this is an issue between freedom and restriction. I urge the City Council, County Council, to uphold the principles of intellectual freedom, reject censorship, and affirm a commitment to a society that values knowledge, diversity, and the free exchange of ideas. We deserve nothing less than the opportunity to explore the vast realms of human thought and imagination without unnecessary constraints. Thank you, Carlos Gidron, Jr.
Thomas Proskett.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I want to speak on the library again, just like everybody else here. And I'm going to cut my speech a little shorter because everybody's said things in a better way than I'm going to say it. But I just have a few things I'll say. it's very ironic, if not hypocritical, that Mr. Federley, I guess he's the one that proposed this, represents a part of the Republican Party, and I thought the Republican Party, again, was a strong supporter of personal freedoms and rights and against government influence into personal freedoms, and I can't imagine why he would have suggested something like this. The library serves all people, some liberal, some conservative, some religious, some are not, all races, all ages, all sexual orientations. We all have at least two things in common. One is that we love the library, and two is that we all pay taxes. We don't want our choices at the library limited by a group that thinks they know what is better for us than we do. If we don't like a program or a book, we won't read it, we won't attend the program. It's as simple as that. How would this program work? I'd like to ask Mr. Federley. Would each new book, movie, program need to be approved? Why stop there? Why shouldn't every book, video, audio book that's in the library now be reviewed? Are they going to pull each book from the shelf and look at them and see if that's acceptable to them? Should the nursery, I have a copy of the monthly programs at the library. One is called Wiggles and Giggles. It's a music and movement and nursery rhymes for birth to 3-year-olds. Is this, is the library board and going to go into each nursery rhyme that's read there and look and see if it's acceptable to their group? The city council is going to be asked again to stack the library board with people approved by Mr. Federley and his group, so that one point of view is allowed. What if it doesn't work? What if there's a something that is not acceptable to Mr. Federley? Is he going to come with another ordinance so that only their decisions are final? And again, I'm sorry I'm skipping around because everybody has said it. In conclusion, some censorship is probably indicated. Pornography and graphic violence should be probably limited to consenting adults. But as adults or parents, we can decide what our children read or participate at the library. Again, if we don't like something, we will just not attend. The library should be a place that people can come, learn about faraway places, get lost in fictional story, read Shakespeare, look up information for school projects, enjoy a good movie, and learn about different cultures, different ideas, and different points of view. Again, just as everyone else has done, I ask that the county council support freedom and allow people to judge themselves what they would like to read, not some outside group. Thank you.
Today, I stand before you to advocate for the indispensable role of an independent library director and urge the appointment of library board members who ardently champion intellectual freedom. Our local library is not merely a repository of books, but a bastion of knowledge and diverse perspectives. A library's true strength lies in its ability to remain impartial and inclusive, and its ability to do so is spearheaded by an independent library director. It is essential to underscore the professionalism and expertise that a library director and librarians bring to our community. They undergo rigorous training and continually seek professional development opportunities to stay abreast of evolving technologies, emerging trends, and best practices in library sciences. An independent library director, free from external influences, ensures that our library remains a beacon of unbiased knowledge and a sanctuary for intellectual exploration. Second, I urge this council to exercise discernment and wisdom in the appointment of individuals to the library board. It is my hope that you avoid appointing individuals whose intentions may lean towards controlling the library director or advocating for book censorship. Instead, seek those who embrace the ethos of intellectual freedom, who understand the vital role the library plays in our community, and who are committed to upholding the principles of open access to knowledge, diversity of thought, and free expression, all cornerstones of our democracy. By carefully selecting board members who share in the vision of an inclusive and intellectually vibrant library, we can guarantee that our library continues to serve as a space where ideas can flourish and individuals can expand their horizons without fear of censorship or discrimination. An independent library director and board that values intellectual freedom will amplify the library's positive impact on our community and allow it to enrich the lives of all who call Pickens County home.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 3 on tonight's agenda is approval of minutes. I ask for a motion and a second to constitute approval of the September 5th minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Sater.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the September 5th and September 18th minutes, which are both in the packet.
I have a motion to approve September 5th and 18 minutes in the packet. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Item 4 on tonight's agenda is the administrator's report. Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. It's my pleasure to update you here tonight on several issues as we start each of our meetings with division heads. We talk about our goals for the year that you all set, and I have updates tonight on each of these 3 areas. Starting with people, you said to sustain our culture of public service, and I'm very excited tonight to recognize one of our own who's received a statewide award. Whenever that happens, whenever a Pickens County employee, a public servant in this community receives a statewide award, it's appropriate for us to offer them our thanks. And so nobody typifies in their own unique way the way to serve the public of Pickens County more than our coroner, Candy Kelly. I would ask Candy Kelly if she would stand. I know she's here with her husband, JB. Coroner Kelly has served both in this capacity and as a deputy coroner for many years, not that many years, but for some years. And she was recognized on the state level as the 2023 South Carolina Coroner Association's Coroner of the Year. Specifically, when they recognized her for this, they said they recognized her outstanding and significant contributions she'd made to the field of death investigation in South Carolina. So thank you, Candy, for your service to the citizens of Pickens County. I know you've got time left in office, and we certainly are glad to have you, and thank you for a job well done. Something in the way of news and an update. You all passed in this past budget the issuance of the $12.5 million bond issue that was tended to be coupled with $10 million of a special allocation from the General Assembly that then served as our local match to apply for $44 million in funding from the South Carolina Transportation Infrastructure Bank. This infrastructure bank has funded huge problems, that was a Freudian slip, such as the Cooper River Bridge and the US Highway 26 renovation that's going on right now. But we've never in Pickens County had the benefit of those dollars. So you all have done what you needed to do to set that in motion. I wanted to let you know that through conversations with the State Infrastructure Bank, they've let us know now that our application will be considered on Tuesday, October 17th. I will be in attendance at that meeting. They've asked me to be there if questions arise. They said our written submission was sufficient and they were excited to consider it. We'd addressed both of the issues, according to their finance director for the Infrastructure Bank. Both of the issues that gave them reservations we've now addressed. And so we expect a good result then. I expect members of the delegation will also be with me on Tuesday, October the 17th. When I have the specific time, I'll certainly forward that on to you because I know that this is a project that's been close to your heart as well. The work is not over. The renovations to South Carolina, the improvements and safety improvements to South Carolina Highway 183 that this is aimed at, we won't stop even though we expect good news here. For example, through the representation of a couple of you on the GPATS board, the GPATS has also approved an additional $20-some-odd million that's contingent upon this. So if we get this money, it also unlocks another $20 million-some-odd to address the bridge and the section in Greenville County. So we think that this is all coming together nicely, but we're going to continue working on this, see what we can leverage this into. because as we stand right now, we're very excited. We think we're in a good position, and we expect good news, which we will share broadly if we receive that money from the South Carolina Transportation Infrastructure Bank. Update on our illegal dumping. From the time of the month of September, basically, our environmental enforcement officers, some of them are here in the back of the room here, tell me that they've made over 20 cases of illegal dumping. This is not just a case where someone litters on the side of the road. This is where somebody's putting out big quantities of trash. I've got a couple of pictures for those. So they're making these cases again and again and again, and the names and faces have been obscured to protect the innocent, because one of the things that I really love that our environmental enforcement folks are doing is that when they find these illegal dump sites, they're determining whose it is because it's their personal trash in some instance. And those folks are remedying the situation rather than face charges. So they're on the roadsides picking it up, and I think that's a great idea that the environmental enforcement guys have to help teach a lesson and avoid clogging up our busy criminal system when they could instead just learn not to litter. So I wanted to update you on that. I think those guys are doing good work. A couple of them are standing here tonight to receive their commissions from you all, so we're excited about that as well. Wayfinding signage, I don't know if you have noticed, but council allocated money almost a year ago for wayfinding signage to point you to different locations in the county. Branded, up-to-date, new wayfinding signage for not only our beautiful things like Glassy Mountain, but you'll see the third picture in our necessary sites like our recycling centers. That's a wayfinding sign for a recycling center. So those are all going up. You'll see those going up throughout the month of October. We're very excited about this. We think this will show people more the pride that we have in our community, the wonderful assets we have in our community, and we think this will just be a multiplier for the rebranding efforts. Now that this is up and going, I think from what I understand from talking to our community and tourism development folks that we're coming back to you next for gateway signage. So that'll be the next program that we bring to you. But look for that wayfinding signs going up in a community near you. We're very excited about that. One of the topics that council's been working on for this entire year, in fact, it was one of your lead goals for the year, was to address the rate of growth and the planning around growth in our community. It's no secret that what we have that makes our wayfinding signage necessary also means it's something that everyone else wants in the world. And so we've got a lot of folks that want to move to Pickens County. In that regard, you all have been working, and in my estimation, working thanklessly over the past many months on this issue. And so I've taken it on, along with my staff, to do more public events. We did a Facebook Live, which was well received. We got a lot of comments on from one of our sewer plants on Friday. It was a fascinating visit where we learned that most of what happens in a sewer plant is biological. You would think it's chemical, but perhaps it's organic chemistry. I see a college professor in the room. Perhaps it's organic chemistry, but it's mainly biological. Amazing things that they're doing with our Public Service Commission and our sewer plants. But that is a conversation about infrastructure, which is part of the balance that you all are trying to reach. I also have a live webinar coming up on Monday, October 23rd at 10 a.m. More information coming out about that, where we're going to talk about some of the things County Council is considering. A panel discussion at Longview, Carolina that I've been invited to come to specifically about conservation in our community. And then we're looking at other different formats for this conversation so the public can have as much of an opportunity as possible. We'll do some online things. We're looking at some print media. We're looking at some conventional media as well. Not everybody can come to a meeting on a Monday night at 6 o'clock at night. And so we want to make sure the community knows what you all are, the balance you all are striving to find as you look at this and you address one of your primary goals and one of the biggest issues facing Pickens County. So look for those dates as they come out. We want to try to be as transparent with what we're doing and communicating the issues so that they'll understand. One thing that I love, and you can see that if you can see past my belly in that photo, I'm holding a jug of water in my right hand and a jug of water in my left hand. The left hand is the water that comes out of 18 Mile Creek into our sewer plant. Comes out of the creek into our sewer plant. It's then mixed through an elaborate process that I won't go into detail about, but it's mixed. And then after it has been treated and is available to be released, the jug in my right hand is how clear it comes out of our sewer plant into the 18 Mile Creek. it comes out 7 times cleaner than the water that comes in. I thought that was pretty amazing. Anyway, more of these conversations to come, and thank you for the opportunity to be involved in that. I did not anticipate when I talked about, when I set up the things I wanted to update you on, how much the library would be in this conversation. But I do want to say as a way of an update that the library has rolled out new library cards that I think really emphasize the positives in Pickens County, doubles down on their brand. It's a much big improvement over the library card that I have that's broken in 2 pieces that I carry in my wallet. So I've got to pay the $2 to get a new replacement library card, Stephanie. And that's what we'll do there. But the serious part of this is I wanted to update you. Council had allocated money from the library reserve in order to do some renovations. I wanted to update you that the low bid has been awarded on the roof for the Pickens Library. We expect that to go quickly and well. The bids are opened on the HVAC improvements for the couple branches. Those bids will be open on Wednesday. Other than that, we're waiting for mechanical drawings from the architect so we can start looking for other opportunities to save money there. Stephanie and I are in conversation. We'll continue those conversations and keep you all updated as we move forward with those renovations. Before we get to any questions, I have one late-breaking item that was given to me today by Denise Quietak, our emergency management director. She said, "Good afternoon, get ready to not freak out on Wednesday, October the 4th at 2:20 p.m. Every TV, radio, and cell phone in the United States should blare out a distinctive, jarring electronic warning tone of an emergency alert. It's a test. It is only a test. The message will say, this is the nationwide test of the emergency alert system issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency covering the United States from 1420 to 1450 Eastern Time. This is only a test. No action is required by the public." It's going to go about for 1 minute, and then it'll go away. But we wanted to alert as many people as we could so they would not be shocked and alarmed by that. Members of council, those are all the reports I have at this time. I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
Any question? Dr. Wilson. Ken, if you don't mind, for the benefit of the folks here and for the folks watching at home, I represent the area that the majority of the repairs to 183 will impact. And I think it'd be really important because of unanimous support at so many different levels of government. If you would just give a very brief kind of explanation of where we started and how we got to this point in such a short period of time over recent time.
In terms of the impetus of the idea, I know you as an elected official and some other elected officials came together. A group was called Pickens United. The idea was to unite city, county, school district, and state delegations folks in an intentional meeting once a quarter to come up with goals and ways that we could work together. Coming out of that process was the idea that the biggest safety concern we have in the local roads was South Carolina Highway 183. I know one of the first conversations you and I had, Dr. Wilson, was about Highway 183. Then as we moved into that project, the Pickens United project moving forward, the first time we applied to the State Transportation Infrastructure Bank, they said we did not have what we needed. There was not enough of a local buy-in for that. And so they deferred action on our application. What this council did at the beginning of this year was go back and revisit those assumptions from the Pickens United effort and allocate enough money to meet that local commitment. So that $12.5 million is intended to go along with the $10 million special allocation to the County Transportation Committee to fully meet the local match required for state infrastructure bank funding. You all set that as a goal. You then waited for staff to come back with a proposal how to pay for it. You voted to fund it through the 23-24 budget, and then you voted to issue the bonds. So y'all have voted and passed each step in that process to put us in a position now where when we go in front of the State Infrastructure Bank on October 17th, asking for this money to do the improvements on South Carolina Highway 183, we will have fully met their qualifications. And I hope that answers your question.
I will say that I've been involved in politics for 12 to 14 years now, something like that. And I've never seen such unanimity of support at so many different levels of government. And I just wanted you to know that I appreciate, particularly on behalf of the folks in my area, the way that you've held it together, and the way that you've pushed it, and the way that you and your staff have moved the thing forward. Because I mean, it's going to save lives, and I just want you to know I appreciate that.
It's rewarding work. We expect good news on the 17th. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rucker?
Mr. Chairman.
Question.
First, thank you for telling us about the test. That'll save me a phone call from Nana, because I'm gonna call her later when we get home. A couple of questions, and one was with Mr. Burns. Can you give us an answer on what he's talking about?
Mr. Burns has a receipt in hand. He may not have it with him here tonight, but he has a receipt for his taxes, which he pays every year, as is his right. He pays them delinquent a week or two before the sale date. That's his right. But he asked for a receipt. I escorted him to the delinquent tax window, watched him make his payment, and watched him receive his receipt. So he has his receipt.
The other question that I have is the discussion about animal care and the animal ordinance that they presented here, and I guess this is a question for you guys too. I'd like to put this in make a motion to move this to consent for us to consider.
We'll do that under motion under business.
Yeah, I'll do that. Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Other questions? Councilman Lawless?
Yes. The gateway signage, is that coming into the county signs? Because
yes, sir.
One on 183 coming from Oconee County has been gone for a year.
It's funny because I've said Dr. Wilson, one of the first conversations he had with me was about safety improvements on South Carolina 183. I think it's one of the first things you mentioned to me, Mr. Lawless, is that sign being missing. And we decided not to replace it because we knew that gateway signage would be our next application. And I do not want to say anything negative about the South Carolina Department of Transportation. We're just a couple of weeks away from going to the state infrastructure bank. But we have been delayed in getting the wayfinding signage up, and I don't want to point any fingers at any three-letter agencies that might be out there. That being said, we will be coming back to you very quickly with a replacement plan for all of those. We've already made plans with the city of Clemson, and there's an opportunity there for us to collaborate with the city of Easley as well, because those are major gateways. So look for that plan in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Rucker?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Saban.
I've been doing some research on the sewer plants, and I've been talking to different people. It appears that I think the 18 Mile Creek middle plant is going to need an expansion at some point.
Yes.
Probably tens of millions of dollars.
It's going to be significant.
I suspect we're going to have to vote on that at some point, so I would like to tour all our sewer plants, and because I've never done that. They're not even in my district, so I don't even know where they are. But I know it's an important decision, so if you can arrange that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Be glad to do it. We'll start our tour at the oddly named Roper wastewater treatment plant. But I'll be glad to do that, Mr. Saban. Thank you.
Should that be open to all of us?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Other questions for Mr. Roper? Not, thank you, Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll move on to item 5, committee reports. The Committee of the Whole met on September 18th. The first item was reassessment. Vice Chairman Costner made a motion to move this out of committee for first reading in title only. The motion was seconded by Councilman Wilson and opposed by Councilman Seda. It being first reading in title only coming out of committee, an ordinance delaying the implementation of the 2024 reassessment process in order to benefit the taxpayers of Pickens County and matters related thereto. No seconds required. This comes out as a recommendation from the committee. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Next item was Councilman Wilson made the motion to extend the moratorium for 90 days. The motion was seconded by Councilman Lawless, and it carried unanimously. As this comes as a recommendation from the committee, it does not require a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. That completes our committee log. Council correspondence. The committee of the whole meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 16th at 6 o'clock in the main conference room here in the admin building. Our next council meeting will be held on Monday, that's not right. Is that November 6th?
Yes.
November 6th at 6:30 here in the council chambers. Are there any correspondence that need to be shared tonight? Hearing none. Item number 7 is motion period and new business.
Mr. Chair,
Vice Chairman Costner.
I'd like to make a motion to move our animal care ordinance, specifically section 4.7, to a consent agenda to be discussed in the committee of the whole.
So I have a motion to add animal care, specifically 4.7, to the consent agenda to go to the committee of the whole. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Any other motions or new business tonight? Hearing none, we'll move to item 8, ordinances for reading and or resolutions. Item A is consideration of resolution 2023-27 pursuant to ordinance number 452, the Commerce Park Ordinance, in order to allow reimbursement for certain park expenses and matters related thereto. Do I have a motion and a second to constitute this as first reading of this ordinance?
Motion. This is resolution. Just a resolution.
It is a resolution. You are right.
No motion.
Do I have a motion for this resolution?
Yes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. 8B, consideration of resolution 2023-28 in recognition of Mobile Integrated Health Care MIH Week. Do I have a motion and a second to constitute this reading of this resolution? I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Linville. Any discussion? Since we do have some folks in the room here for this, I'd like to read this resolution. It's a resolution in recognition of Mobile Integrated Healthcare Week, whereas a significant portion of our citizens receive in-home care each year from MIH professionals, whereas the need of chronically ill patients often go untreated due to gaps in care due to today's fragmented healthcare systems, and whereas the goal of mobile integrated health providers is to aid in the prevention of overutilization of emergency departments and emergency medical service agencies for non-emergent conditions, to improve the quality of life of patients, and to reduce the disparities in healthcare access by addressing the social determinants of health. And whereas mobile integrated health relies on its established partnership within the emergency medical service community, as well as multidisciplinary teams of healthcare providers across the emergent and non-emergency care continuum to help state and communities reduce readmission and assist patients in properly managing their healthcare issues. And whereas the National Association of Mobile Integrated Healthcare Providers, NAMI-HP, the tens of thousands of community members, pre-hospital and hospital-based practitioners it serves, and the professional organizations and federal agencies with which it partners are committed to ensuring the delivery of high-quality mobile integrated health care. And whereas the paramedical profession, which is central to delivery of the mobile integrated health care model, was recently recognized by the National Institute of Health and as being part of the Allied Health Professionals team and listed in medical subject headings. And whereas Pickens County has 2 MIH programs operating within our county, the COPE program and the Prisma MIH program, and whereas it is proper and timely to bring recognition to the value and accomplishments of mobile integrated healthcare and the dedicated personnel who work tirelessly to improve the delivery of care to those suffering chronic illness and those most deeply affected by disparities in the healthcare access. And whereas the National Association of Mobile Integrated Healthcare Providers declares the week of October 8th through the 14th, 23, and every second week of the month of October in years following as National Mobile Integrated Healthcare Professionals Week. No other discussion on the resolution. I ask for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you all. Item 9 on tonight's agenda, there are no ordinances for second reading. Item 10 on tonight's agenda is ordinances for third reading. A public hearing and third reading of ordinance number 627, authorizing and approving the development of a joint county industrial and business park pursuant to section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1976, as amended in conjunction with Oconee County, the park, such park to be geographically located in Oconee County, the execution and delivery of a written park agreement with Oconee County as to the requirements of payments of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to park property and the sharing of the revenues and expenses of the park, the distribution of revenues from the park within Pickens County, and other matters related thereto. I'll gavel us into public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item tonight? Hearing none, I'll close public hearing. I ask for a motion and a second to consider this ordinance as presented.
Motion.
I have a motion by the Vice Chair. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Lawless. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Thank you. I have other requested agenda items tonight. A would be commissioning of county code and environmental officers. Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud to have with me, actually stepping out to gather them. I think this went quicker than we thought. Bring in our code enforcement officers. This resolution is for them and for their instruction of what council authorizes them to do. They're joined tonight with their department head, which is Austin Castle. You'll see Austin coming in here with the hat on. Yes, thank you, Austin. Thank you, Austin. But we're proud to have with us these three, and proud to have them, if council deems it appropriate, to be commissioned tonight. They have been commissioned by the constable, by the magistrate, with general constabulary powers. So tonight, what the offering is to allow them to have specific direction to council on what their jurisdiction is, because it's a limited jurisdiction. Specifically, it's listed as countywide jurisdiction for all building codes, stormwater, development standards, litter, solid waste, and property conditions, basically county ordinances that apply. I'm very pleased to introduce to you, and I'd ask that they just raise their hand, Michael Todd, also Stuart Simmons, and Marcus Vincent. Members of council, we'd be very pleased if you would offer your commissioning to them tonight.
So I ask for a motion and a second to constitute this resolution.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Councilman Sager.
Mr. Roper, what can they do and what can't they do? Just give us some examples.
That's a very broad, yeah, a very broad
Just give us some examples.
What they can do is they can look at property conditions that are addressed by the county ordinances, such as illegal dumping sites, unsafe housing, stormwater violations, those sorts of things. Dumping outside a recycling center when it's closed is a bigger problem than you would think.
So they would write a citation?
They could write citations for that, which would then be prosecuted in magistrate's court. They could also initiate potentially bigger investigations that would bring involvement from the sheriff's office, from DHEC, from others.
Could they write citations against state law?
Not as we stand now, although as we've discussed, they would have to go through the academy program to have that ability, and we're taking the steps to make that. I think last month you all, and Mr. Sada, I may be mistaken, but I think you were one of the persons that made the motion in order for them to receive that ORI designation, which is the first step down that road.
Okay. And what's the timeline on that?
We'll have to wait and see when we receive that back from SLED, that certification, and then they would have to see when the next availability is in a class.
Okay. So then if they're class 3 officers, they'll then be able to force the state law?
That's correct.
And arrest people?
Yes.
For litter and things like that?
In the appropriate circumstance.
Okay. They'll carry a gun in the bench?
Provided that council so desires. That's been my understanding as the instruction up to now.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments on this resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And that is unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
B, under other items, would be staff solution for county email issues and the source of funding. Mr. Roper, don't know why you sat down.
No, thank you for the opportunity to present on this. I know many of you have received citizens' complaints because the county's email system is somewhat antiquated. It served its well for many years, but it was set up under a different set of assumptions. Because of that, many people with bellsouth.net extensions, Yahoo extensions, those extensions were designating our county emails, which all 6 of you have, as spam. And so they weren't making it through. We had a situation that impacted me where a citizen was complaining about a situation and was then complaining because I'd never responded. And I'd actually emailed them 3 times. So I know how frustrating that can be. In addition to that, the spam issue, the system that we have creates some security concerns. We're housing everything here. This is not a cloud-based solution. And so that's not a good way to do it. It creates problems for us. We were talking about certification for these officers and having SLED involved. SLED terminals, where you receive someone's criminal history, those create problems for us because of our web extension. We would also take advantage of this potential change where we went to Microsoft 365, a cloud-based solution, to change our email addresses from, for example, mine is kenr@co.pickens.sc.us, and it's usually at that point somebody says, wait, let me get a pencil. It would change it to kenr@pickenscountysc.gov. So that we feel like that'll be more transparent, easier for you to all to communicate. We understand from checking around benchmarking with some of our neighbors that of 20 other counties, 19 are already on Office 365. So it doesn't come free. This is not without a price tag, and it is something that Robert Furr, our IT director, has been asking for some time. Internally, we were going to make that switch planning in the next budget cycle. But with the problems that we're having with us being identified as spam because of our odd email address, in my understanding, we decided we'd go ahead and bring that to you and ask you all if you're willing to spend money from fund balance to address this problem. If we're able to do that, if we're able to achieve approval from you all tonight, Robert Furr tells me we can have this implemented by the 1st of the year. And so we would be excited to do that. The total cost on that is $83,100 for first year cost. There'll be annual subscription costs, which we'll build into the annual budget if you all approve.
So 5 weeks or the end of the year?
He's in the back of the room, Mr. Chairman. We feel confident.
Okay. Any questions about that discussion?
I have a question. Since it'll be cloud-based, would we be able to just use the 365 program on our phones or laptops or whatever at our home instead of having to have an asset from the county?
You're talking about logging into webmail?
That's right.
Yes, sir. You'll have a multi-factor authentication that will pass, and we'll have that there. That'll be re-enabled.
So folks in the county currently, you wouldn't have to have laptops for everybody, but they would be able to use their phone for 365 access?
There's an HR topic that we need to talk about what that ends up being an HR situation we're working through. It's all about what your classification is in the county, and but we can speak about that too.
Fair enough, but you have the options.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Ms. Lumble?
You mentioned pulling this money out of fund balance. From my understanding, there's been a lot of grants and other funds. Anything related to technology feels like it comes with support from elsewhere. Are there any other funds we can tap into before we go fund balance?
We haven't really explored the grant process because we know that would take some time. Had we intended to build this in the budget, I'm sure we would have had those conversations, but I think fund balance is the way for us to address this most quickly.
Okay.
And we do have funds available at the fund balance where this would not be a huge impact.
So can we look at potential grants, because there are even grants that you can go back and reclaim monies? I mean, we've done that in the past.
What we could do in that regard is look at going forward for the annual cost to see what might be available. That's a wonderful idea.
Other questions?
We don't have a motion on the table. I was gonna motion that we allocate the $83,100 out of fund balance with the stipulation that you look for alternatives to recoup that cost to grants or other opportunities throughout the course of this year.
Second that.
I have a second by Councilman Sanders. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Item C, under 11, Mr. Roper, do you want to keep it going?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this opportunity. We received communication from the Fort Prince George chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution on a project they're trying to do in anticipation of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Many of you on this council, not all of you, but many of you will remember, some of you in the crowd may, the bicentennial and how it was lunch boxes and TV commercials and parades, and it was a formative time for me. That celebration may have been something that got in my head and sent me into local government work, because it was certainly something that I remember and was motivated by. Well, 250 is coming up in 2026. That's just a couple years away. And with that in mind, the Daughters of the American Revolution are proposing to put a marker at the Old Stone Church, which they say, and I believe this to be true, has the highest concentration of Revolutionary War patriots there in the cemetery of any cemetery in Pickens County. So they'd like to place a marker there. They had asked for Pickens County, as a show of support, to contribute half the cost of that. The total cost of the marker, which you see a picture of it in your materials, I don't think we have one on the screen, that would go up at the Old Stone Church where those patriots are buried near General Andrew Pickens's gravesite. The total cost is $5,555. A suspiciously round number, but I think that they might be rounding up there. But they'd asked for the county to contribute 1/2 of that cost, and so we bring that to you for your consideration.
Vice Chairman.
Mr. Roper, could we use accommodations tax money that we have left over for that?
I certainly believe that we could. It's my understanding. I think yes, I'm getting the nod from the back of the room from the person that would know. So, yes, it would be appropriate for that.
I make a motion that we spend the money out of accommodations tax.
Have a motion, do I have a second? So second by Councilman Sanders. Discussion.
Question.
Ms. Linville.
I've been receiving a lot of messages in my inbox from this committee that have constantly been asking, do you have projects? Do you want us to fund something? Do you want us to do something? Does this not qualify as one of those?
Well, this is from the Daughters of the American Revolution, as I understand it, and they're doing it as a part of their involvement in the 250th, the state 250th.
Is it the national DAR?
I think it's our local chapter.
Pickens County, okay.
Yep.
But they didn't apply to the 250 commission.
I don't believe that they did, but I know they're participating in it because I've seen them copied on a lot of the meeting notices and everything else. So I think this is separate from that effort. We will have other things we're going to bring to you. The reason I smiled, Councilor Linville, in anticipation of the 250th, where we hope we can establish some things here in Pickens County in celebration of the 250th. That's the reason I smile when you bring that up. But my understanding is the local chapter that's bringing this proposal is part of a national effort, but it's our local chapter and it's separate from the 250th. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Do the ATAX? Sorry. The ATAX motion.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is unanimous. Thank you. Item 12 is the consent agenda, and the only item on the consent agenda is the one that we added tonight, and that would be the animal care ordinance, specifically 4.7. So add this to the committee log. I need a motion.
Motion.
To adopt consent. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Lawless. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? That is unanimous. There are no other items on tonight's agenda. I do want to go on the record as saying it is 7:36. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? I have a second by Ms. Linville. Any discussion? None at all. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And we stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
That is a record. Is that